Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this podcast, Poetry, Passion, and Pleasure, with your host, Dale Biron. That's me. By way of introduction, let me tell you a little story about poetry and some prison inmates and an event that took place many, many years ago. But first, let me give you the poem that the story is centered around. It is a poem by the great poet Emily Dickinson, a short little poem. It goes like this: a word is dead. A word is dead when it is said. Some say, I say, a word just begins to live that day. A word is dead when it is said. Some say, I say, a word just begins to live that day. Well, I happened to be at a speech contest many years ago at San Quentin Prison in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I used that poem, that Emily Dickinson poem, as a way to close the talk I was giving on the power of our own voice, the power of our own agency, no matter, of course, in this case, how confined and difficult our situation might be. And those inmates loved that poem. They celebrated that poem that night. And it was one of the things that had me realize how much poetry connects us. It's like a connection machine. First of all, it connects us to ourselves, reminds us of our own agency, connects our head, our intellect, and our heart, our emotions, which is a very powerful form of human being. Have you noticed? It also connects us with other human beings, the right poem, the right selected poem. And it also, good poetry, the right poetry, has a way of connecting us to what I call the great other, often called the natural world. So poetry is a great connection machine. And in this podcast, we focus on very non-traditional ways to use poetry as this kind of connector. No subject is out of bounds. We will talk about ecology and all the different ecological challenges we have. We'll talk about politics, and we'll talk about cultural issues as well. Again, no topic is off limits. And I do believe that poetry can help us connect to ourselves, to others, and to the great other or the natural world. All things we need in abundance these days. It can give us a very skillful helping hand. I hope you will join me for episodes here on the podcast. We drop a new one every Friday. So again, thank you for stopping by, and thank you so much for your listening ear.